I love to see films. Yeah, I really old films, you know, new films. But and my wife is an actress, so we're always watching things. But she's always working on monologues or something from particular movies or something to use when she's going for auditions. So, but we both really love going to the movies.
Is there any similarity between films, big films, and stage like your stage work?
Yeah, I think so. You know, with songs they become like short visual, especially Depeche Mode stuff. When we work on stuff in the studio, quite often where I go with it is it's a very visual thing for me, like, you know, seeing landscapes and things and situations and people, and that's why I love New York. New York's a great place to be stimulated by life and different cultures, you know, different music. You know, I completely understand why a lot of jazz like Miles Davis and John Coltrane and stuff came from New York, out of New York, because it's like the sound of the city, you know. It's especially Coltrane, you know, Love Supreme, that album is New York. And it's very visual, you know. It's when I listen to that album, it reminds me of home more than any other record that I listen to.
So you bring, because you live in New York, you bring the New York side in the new record, for instance?
I do. You know, I find it very inspiring. I feel like since I've been living in New York, you know, it has an influence on me, and it comes in the music. You know, New York can be very also claustrophobic, and you know, I feel very at home there more than any city that I've ever lived in. So, but I think the influence of the feeling in New York definitely goes into the music. You know, we recorded this album in Santa Barbara and New York, and they couldn't be further apart. Santa Barbara is beautiful. It's a wonderful place to be, and I'm sure to live. I find it so inspiring musically.
How is the work working together? You had a solo career, now you work again together. I think there's a democratic decision if you say I can make 3 songs and so on. What is it?
Well, it was much more natural with this record. It wasn't really something we talked about. I came into the studio with, you know, maybe 6 demos, and Martin had a lot of songs written, maybe 15. So between us, we had like 20 songs or something. And I chose the ones that I felt that I really wanted to work on, which was Hold to Feed and Miles Away and Come Back. And I felt that those songs really worked with the songs that Martin had contributed, of course. But you know, that's what's important when you're making a Depeche record. You go into the studio, and whatever you're working on, it has to become a combined effort. It's not like making a solo record where you know, I know at the end of the day I'm going to sort of have the last say on the songs that are used, the arrangements of those songs, the running order, the type of visuals I want to use with those songs, the artwork, everything. I enjoy doing that, and it's definitely given me a lot of inspiration within Depeche Mode as well, a lot more confidence, I think, as well, as a writer and a performer.
For you, it's important how you perform these songs. You have to be on the stage, of course. So you look, can I dance to this or can I perform it?
Yeah. Well, when I finish this tour, I'm going to audition for Dancing with the Stars. I think I would win as well. Somebody said that to me the other day. I was like, what? No, I mean, the way I move on stage, it's dictated by, you know, the rhythms, the atmosphere, what I feel from what comes back from the audience. It's like a wave. It kind of goes in and out and in and out all the time. And you know, for me, I can express a lot of how I feel about a particular line or words or melody with my body. I use my body. It's for, you know, it's physical for me, and I kind of throw myself into each song. You know, when Anton Corbijn filmed One Night in Paris, he said to me afterwards, when he was looking at all the stuff he was editing in the studio, he said, you know, what struck him the most was that each song becomes like, you become like a different character for each song, like you're playing a role in a movie. And I know what he means by that. It does become like that for me. Some of those characters I identify with, and some of them, it's make-believe.
Yeah, 3 children. 2 children. Her daughter is about 9.
She'll be 10 this year, yes.
What she says when she see you dancing on it?
Well, yeah, she's only ever seen a few songs performed. She was too young before. I don't really want to expose her to. It's too loud. It's not daddy, you know. And that's the first thing she said to me afterwards was, you know, I want my daddy back. And when she was really young, so you know, my wife and I are very protective about that. My older son, Jack, he's been to lots of shows and you know, enjoys sort of listening to the music as well. In fact, he feels that this record is by far the best record we've ever made. He was really vocal about that. I gave him a copy, and that evening, we were in London just recently, and he said he listened to it, and then he stayed up late listening to it again because he was drawn to it. But you know, it's nice to have a compliment from my son. You know, he's a big music fan. Jimmy, who's 16, he's more into basketball and you know, video games, politics, history. You know, he's not such a big music fan, to be honest. He listens to mostly R&B, like rap stuff, Public Enemy and stuff like that.
You changed your life completely after all these things. You made drugs and nearly dead and so on. So how you manage now to be a rock star?
Well, you know, that's the kind of cliche. I think it's more... you know, when you kind of like go on tour and the sort of lifestyle is so strange, it really is like a different world, and most of it is you know, it's kind of fantasy, and I think if you know, every night after the show, it's kind of like, you know, you finally got the show done and the whole day led up to that, and so it's like a release to be able to go out with everybody and get drunk, and after a while that becomes so repetitive that, you know, you lose yourself in it. It becomes the priority, and that's what happened for me. Everything else was pushed aside and became priority, and when I really came to terms with that and realized that, I knew I had to change, and that became a lot more difficult than I thought. You know, so, but you know, it's the kind of cliched story, the rock star thing or whatever. But you know, I feel much better about where I am in my life today. I feel, you know, that I was lucky to come through that and come out the other side. Some people don't get so lucky.
Now you prepare a mammoth tour through the world. You come to, of course, to Germany. How you prepare for that? You make sports or something? Train every day? Training? I
do, yeah. I mean, I like going to the gym. I like to run. You know, it feels good. I like to feel strong, and if I'm physically, I feel good about myself. The mind follows, and it also enables me, which I've found out over the last 10 years, to be a lot more creative than I thought I could be. You know, I had a lot of fun, you know, in the 80s and most of the 90s, and then it wasn't fun. So life is so much better today for me.
you come to Berlin, as I said, Olympia Stadium and so on.
Yeah.
Why you have so many fans, especially in Germany?
Well, Berlin's particularly, you know, special to us. You know, it's somewhere that we came to very early on, and you know, we recorded 2 albums here, mixed 1 album here, and Martin actually lived here for a couple of years, but this particular area was very, very different, you know, when we first came to visit. You know, we played a concert which was the East here, and realized that we had a huge fan base in the East very early on as well. Yeah, and so, you know, we always kind of try to treat everywhere the same, but Germany has always been something special. You know, certain places you go to, you know that your fans understand what you're doing and will support you. And Germany is one of those places where I feel that as well, we consistently have made good records where we have grown as a band, and performance-wise, hopefully this has been also growing, and you know, our fans have grown up with our music, so it's nice to come full circle after almost 30 years. By the time we finished this tour, we would have been existing together for 30 years and making music, which is a long time.
Okay. Haben wir noch eine Frage? The question, can you imagine doing this job maybe with 60 or 65?
I hope not. I hope not. You know, I hope I'm being sort of adored by, you know, my grandchildren by that time, and that would be enough.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know, 10 years, but next 10 years before all the fans hope that you can...
You know, I think that if we keep producing music together that is as, you know, invigorating as the record that we have just completed, there's no reason why we can't still be doing what we're doing now. You know, I don't see it would be any different.
So I wish you a long time.
Thank you.
Fans and so on.
Thanks very much.